And we'll go ahead and get started then with some of, oh, yes, and I know some questions are coming in, but I just wanted to start us off and say thank you for being here. My name is Jessica Mingo. I am the Director of Community Engagement and one of the individuals on our events team. And I'm also happy to introduce my colleague.
Hi, I'm Nantia, and I am the manager of the alumni program and ambassadors as well.
Wonderful. And yeah, Nuntia is also part of our events team. So we're really excited to be here with you all, share a bit of the Davidson Summit, which is one of our big events for the year. So just some housekeeping before we get started. This is a 60-minute session. We're going to try to be respectful of everyone's time. Also in this line and thread, please, just be respectful to everyone else interacting in this session. We will have a Q&A at the end. There is a Q&A feature. So for your question to not get overseen on that, and it's not ever on purpose. But for us to just keep track of your questions better, please use the Q&A function. That allows us to ensure that we're touching on all of the questions. Sometimes things get lost in the chat. But if there is anything, we did like turn the chat on to where it does come directly to the hosts, myself, Nantia, and our colleague Janelle, who's also on the line. So we will have time for questions. If I do see your question while we're going over a certain page and I happen to be talking about that, I'll try to loop that in there. But if not, then we'll for sure have some time at the end to address these questions. And this session is recorded. We will have the recording posted in the Davidson member community. Also, since this event, this virtual event, is available for some of our families who are also in the process of applying to the program. We will, if you're interested, we'll also have a version of this where all the information is viewable on the public site as well. Now, this way that this session is set up, it's set up as a webinar, so it's where we can see at least a list of everyone who is in attendance, but you as attendees are view only, so you should be able to just see and hear us, but you won't be able to speak or turn on your audio. So your questions just need to be directed to the Q&A. All right, so I am happy to jump on in to our info session, get you all of this information that you need for the summit. So um, essentially to start us off, oh, actually, this is a part of my housekeeping that I already had in there. And this is basically for families interested in learning more about this event. So, all right, sorry, now to officially start us off, we have a poll for everyone that we have launched. And so my question for you is would this be your first time attending the summit? So the answer options are yes, no. For those years we were virtual, like you can go ahead and select that because I know that was just a different time um, during the pandemic. We also have a question there. Attended when they were a gathering. A gathering actually is like from when we started way back. Our organization has actually been around for over 25 years. So since we have alumni coming, some of them might be more familiar with the gathering. And then, of course, if you're not a member yet, this is your chance to get to know a little bit more about the program. But I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 more seconds to answer this question. Yes, no, maybe so, anywhere in between of the options that are available there. We're going to go ahead and end the poll. All right. And so it looks like a good chunk of you, this will be your first time attending the summit. Welcome. We're so glad that you'll be here. And we have quite a good chunk of returners. Um, and then it looks like an alumni family who attended when they were gathering, and also some who are potentially new to the program. So we're so glad that you're here. So just wanted to share that with everyone. Our next poll and this helps me too, like these two questions, just so I know like who we have here. But our next poll is, for those of you who are in the program, have you already registered for the summit? Like, are you planning on coming? So I know for some of you, yes, you've registered. No, you haven't yet, but you're planning to. You're unsure, and that's also great that you're here so you can figure out, is this going to be a good fit for you? And then if you're not a current member yet, that's okay. But go ahead, take a moment. And I'm just making some notes for myself. So I can keep that in mind as we come across information. And I'll give 5 more seconds, then we'll close the poll. All right, let's go ahead and close that. All right, so it looks like there's quite a few of you who are unsure, and that's great because this is a great session to attend to see if it's going to be something that you want to attend with your family. Some of you are haven't registered yet, but are planning on coming, and a good chunk of you are also you've registered and can't wait to attend. So glad that we'll get to go through this information together. All right, so here's what we're hoping that you get out of this session. First is just having a definition of like what is the summit? Why do people come here? Um, Also, we'll do a brief overview of what is planned for the weekend. We have quite a few different activities that are going on, and like the summit is really meant to also have a bunch of different things going on. It is very much a choose your own adventure, so that's why there's a lot of options there. We'll talk through things like safety on campus, some of the more like the common frequently asked questions, some tips for success because when you are traveling and especially to an area if you haven't been to before, we want to make this as positive of an experience as possible. We'll talk through some parking, things that you can plan for. We'll discuss the registration and then, of course, how we communicate and the method of how you keep updated with what's happening with the summit. So that's what you can anticipate us covering. And someone asked in this session, like if the recording will be available. Yes, it will, both on the public side and also in the private community. Okay, let's go to the next page. So, what is the summit? Um, so the summit, it's our annual flagship summertime gathering. And really it started off as something many years ago when they were those gatherings as just families and members who are navigating like the gifted paths, particularly the profoundly gifted path, but just wanting to get together and build some community. And so this is an event that has over the years morphed to what it is now, and it's our flagship event where relationships are fostered. We take this time to celebrate potential and the achievements of our gifted community. And really, a big part of the summit is the intention to inspire talent development, interest exploration, to network and to create some connection opportunities for our families too. So, a good way to think about it is that it's a social, like family-based conference. Typically, we get about 800 and 900 attendees. There's times we've been a little over, there's times we've been under. And as I mentioned a little before, it's sort of a choose your own adventure. So, particularly the schedule has lots of different things that is packed with fun, engaging activities. Sometimes it can make making choices of what to do a little challenging, which in a way we're sort of glad for because that means that we're creating opportunities that you want to engage in. Now, our theme for this year is Woven in Wonder, discovering connections, celebrating brilliance. And where this comes from, or sort of like the what we're trying to embody, is that every spark of talent, curiosity, and creativity is part of a larger design. And we really wanted this theme to celebrate how our community comes together to create something stronger and more beautiful than one thread alone. So throughout the weekend, families and youth will discover how their unique brilliance fit into a vibrant tapestry of possibility. And that's one of the things that we love is like our community and each family, each individual. They are so unique, and we have the saying where if you've met one young scholar, you've met one young scholar. Just because everyone is so unique, but there is, when we come together as a community, there is an element of brilliance to that. And the summit is a really wonderful place for us to come together as a community and building that together. So that's our intention and hope with the theme of this year. Now, when and where is this happening? So the dates for the summit are June 25th, Thursday, June 25th through Sunday, June 28th. And we host this event at the University of Nevada, Reno campus. So that is where we'll be. That is the main area for our event. And this event is um, exclusive to our Davidson members and the alumni from our Davidson program. So these are members of our Young Scholars program. If we have families like from the Davidson Academy Online, any of our families who were involved in fellows, and of course our alumni from all of those respective programs can come to the summit. So it is exclusive to members. So for those of you who in the poll, you're like, oh, I'm not a member yet, just make sure you get your application in. For consideration before, I believe it's like the February deadline. They have it on our website. So that is who can come to the summit. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the why. And so last year we had asked some families like, what are your goals like with coming to the summit? And so for a lot of families, their goals are to meet like-minded peers, to build friendships, to feel a sense of belonging, to connect with other parents of PG and 2E kids, or even reconnecting with past summit friends. There are quite a few of you who said like you've attended more than one summit. Um, and there's just something powerful of coming together, knowing you're all navigating similar journeys. Not everyone's path is the same, but you don't feel so alone when you're navigating it with others. Some of the benefits too, like even though we have families from all across the nation, sometimes even internationally, if they happen to just live abroad, that will come here. And so sometimes they'll find other families in their region and discover and be able to foster some of those connections. And then it's a great time to resource share, to strategy share with others as well. So I just had some quotes up there, at least from from families from last year. And we always get some feedback like this too of, families sort of feeling when they come to the summit, like, wow, I'm like we feel like we found like our tribe, like we found our people who get us. And that ultimately is our goal, to help families feel that at the summit, feel connected to this community in one way or another. All right, so where you can find information about the summit, or a good chunk of it, is on our website, davidsongifted.org. Janelle, thank you so much for sharing a couple of those links in the chat. So those are the pages where you can find the details and information, essentially how you navigate to this. If you are at davidsongifted.org, if you don't have the direct link, you'll go to programs and scholarships, and then you'll click down here on annual family events, and then here in the Learn More section, on this page, you'll click on Davidson Summit and it'll provide you, there's a bunch of different areas you can go to get information like what is the summit, the registration information, schedules and activities, which we're going to highlight and talk about a bit more, the session descriptions, frequently asked questions, how to prepare. So we'll have a good chunk of this information here, of sort of like what's in store for the event. So, diving into this a little bit deeper, we have our schedules and activities. Now, I want to sort of preface this that at this point of time in planning, there are still a few tweaks that are likely going to happen. So, we do have a tentative schedule. The finalized schedule will be released in spring, and we try to keep it as close to what the tentative schedule is, but please note there might be some things that are changing, but it's a good idea to look at the tentative schedule, get an idea of like, all right, what's sort of going to be happening during the weekend. And of course, just sometimes with planning, some things shift, but you'll get the finalized version for those of you who are attending through our information booklet that is shared directly with all our members who are attending the session. And so, um, really that's one thing to keep in mind when you're going through the session or the schedule. The summit really is about meeting people, making new friends. So there's a lot of things that are happening at the same time. So let's dive into that a little. We'll go into each day just so you have like a preview of what that looks like. So Thursday, that first day of the summit, it's really sort of optional, like early check-in. So if you want to come, like you're excited, you're here, you want to get your bag, we have early check-in, which happens simultaneously with the welcome social, all generally in the same place, so you can do both. And our welcome social, we have or are planning to have like we had a food truck, an ice cream food truck last year. We're planning on having one of those again this year. Various games, some like icebreaker kind of things happening during the welcome social. So it's a chance to sort of just get a feel for Reno, get a feel for the people here, start making some of those connections. So then that way, the next day, when there's more things happening, like you're able to see like a friendly face there. On Friday, we like to think of that as our social day. So, we have summit check-in from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's with whatever you do for the summit, you want to do check-in first. Basically, check-in is sort of where you get like your name badge, your bag, and all of the important, that information book I mentioned, you'll get a physical copy of that. And so the first thing you want to do when you come to the summit is check in. So whether it's that Thursday during early check-in or on that Friday, and if for whatever reason with your plans, you're like, our plane was delayed, which I really hope doesn't happen for anyone, but it does, it happens. So if your plane's delayed, you won't be here until like the next day or later that evening. As you can see, we have activities going on later in the evening. You just come to the information desk. We'll make sure that we get you squared away, but you have to have registered first. Other things we have going on, we have like an open game room, arts and crafts room. We have lawn games sort of in different areas. Um, and we'll have different activities, like I said, to sort of the social day. So icebreakers, bingo, simultaneous chess is like um, a pretty big activity. And then we typically will have some information sessions from the Davidson Academy and Davidson Academy Online, and then some regional based mixers. And then that afternoon, that Friday, we'll have the opening keynote. After the opening keynote, then we'll typically take like a little break for dinner, and then we have our signature talent show event. So that's always really fun to see our family, our youth, and essentially it's like Davidson's Got Talent. It's really fun. Simultaneously, and we've done this the last couple of years, and it's also been really fun. It's alumni and teen trivia. So a lot of what we're trying to do is like bridging um, that for like between the teens and the alumni. So if there's any alumni who are in the audience, there are some activities that are happening that day, that evening too. All right, so Saturday, we have like the game room and art rooms, like those rooms that are open. But this is essentially where we're doing a little bit more of learning, like a chance for young scholars and like our Davidson program participants, for them to do like the youth workshops. A lot of times, a way to think of the workshop is it's not going to, it typically will explore a topic, but the hope is that those who are in attendance will be able to connect with other kids in the session who also have a similar interest, and also just like learn something or be exposed to something and another topic or interest, or dive deeper into an interest, depending on what we have. And we'll dive into the workshops in just a little bit. During the youth workshop sessions, we also have the parent sessions um, that will happen at that same time. And then the evening sort of focuses on we have a little bit more mixer opportunities for the youth. And as parents, you can attend if you want the family focus groups, which are there. And then for our alumni who are attending, we have at this time, it's a tentative alumni only social. So that's exclusive for our alumni. Sunday is a little bit of the same with Saturday of having the workshops and presentations, but that is the day that we will have our keynote, our closing keynote. And that typically takes place around like right after the workshop. So then that way afterwards families can have lunch. You guys still have a chance to continue connecting, or depending on your travel plans, it allows you to travel if you need to be back and leave on Sunday without hopefully missing out too much that happens on that day. All right. So I know I sort of dove into that like a little bit more. So the welcome social, we have like a few different different things like outlined here that I know I didn't get as in depth about like in the previous slide. Typically, we'll have also some regional based mixers or teen meetup section. This is on campus, and Yeah, there's desserts included, which is always like the best part. And we try to keep it where it's something cool because it is hot at the end of summer um in Reno. So our next thing that I wanted to highlight are our workshops. So I sort of talked a little bit about that before. That's like our Saturday and Sunday. So our workshops are not yet released. However, Nantia, thank you so much. Oh, actually, I think Nantia, if you could shift it to where it's sent to everyone instead of just to host and panelists. Um, you might have to repost and just adjust the drop down. So you'll see in the link, perfect, thank you. You'll see in the link here soon. We have all of the just about all of the descriptions for our workshops. So we will are planning on releasing those at the end of January, early February. But you can see at least what we currently have on our roster. The neat thing about the youth workshops is you'll get to pick your own workshops for your youth. So there is for those of you who've registered, like we'll let everyone know, like here's like where you access the link to register your kiddo for their particular workshops. And remember, you have to register for the event before you have access to the workshop registration link. Um, but for youth, you do have to select their workshop. It is space available, like only there's limited capacity for each of the workshops. For any of the parent presentations, we also will have an alumni workshop. Those you just walk into. You get to choose whichever one you do. You do not have to register for the parent sessions. You just go to because those are our presentations. They don't need they're not at a maximum capacity unless they hit that capacity for the room, but they're pretty large, really large rooms, an auditorium style for the parent sessions. Since each workshop is capacity based, we also like reservations are basically first come, first serve. We have three different age groups. Youth, which is 5 to 8, tween, which is 9 to 11, and teen, which is 12 plus. We're really strict with like the teen. Like if your kid is 11 months and like, or 11 years and 11 months, like they will have to go to a tween. A kid can always go to any kind of younger session, but you can't like go into an older session. Teens, like that one, we are pretty strict on. They have to be 12 plus for those. And part of this too is the presenters are essentially creating like their curriculum. They are familiar with, gifted and profoundly gifted, so they know that they're advances, but they are tailoring their workshop content for those particular age groups. So that's just something to keep in mind. You will receive an email with your ticket details showing what you've registered for. And so if we notice there's any errors that need adjusting, like let's say you accidentally signed up for more than one workshop for that time slot, because there is a morning and afternoon time slot for Saturday and then morning on Sunday. Let's say you accidentally signed up for two morning sessions. You can't be in two places at once. So we will let you know. We do go through each of the registrations, let you know if there's any errors. Now, if um, basically the weekend of the summit, you'll check your email for the workshops you reserved, and then you'll walk with your student to their workshop. You'll sign them in, and then you get to go to your parent session. And then at the end of the workshop in the parent session, you'll go and pick up your child and send them out. Um, we did want to share that after you pick your workshops, changes can be made, but one thing to keep in mind is that let's say if you change your Saturday session and you want to change that, you have to like we'll let you know what the process is. But once you drop that session, it is open for anyone to essentially sign up that spot. So if you drop that session, you sign up for the other, or someone had signed up for like that last spot, and there's always a chance you might lose your spot in that moment. You can't get your spot back if you drop and change. So you can make changes. It just, we will let you know that process, but just keep in mind it will release that seat back to anyone else who is also in the registration form, and they might see an opening. So just keep that in mind. That's why we also, if you can now, review those workshop sessions with your kiddo. See what their first, second, third, even fourth or fifth choices are in the event that their workshop selection might be one that's like really popular. So then at least you have those backups ready to go in the event that any of the spots fill up. All right, now I'm going to bounce this over to Nantia, and she's going to talk a bit about our alumni.
All right. Thanks, Jessica. Hi, everybody. So we are so excited to be able to invite our alumni back. This is fairly new. So every year we try to create some fun events for our alumni to participate in. So I'm just going to go over some events that we are working on right now. So the first is our alumni panel, and this is where alumni can learn about your fellow alumni's journeys and perspectives, hear what life has been like for them beyond Davidson. And if alumni would like to participate, you can email alumni@davidsongifted.org as soon as you can, if you want, if you know that you're going to be attending, or by February 27th at the latest. Another event we're bringing back is the alumni and teen trivia. We did that last year and it was such a blast. And this is just kind of, putting your knowledge to the test and having a friendly competition between other alumni and older teens. So this is a mixed age event with alumni and older teens. So it's a great opportunity to connect and network. And hopefully you'll walk away with some unique trivia questions to share and maybe some bragging rights. And then, as Jessica mentioned, Saturday night we'll have the tentative alumni social. And right now we are planning to have it at Birdie's, which is an indoor golf place here in Reno. And it's just a fun place for attendees to get together, relax, reconnect, and unwind. And then new this year, we are so excited to have Dr. Matt Zagreski back. And he will be doing something new for our alumni, and he'll be doing multiple workshops throughout the weekend. And he'll be presenting on just various aspects of adulting as a gifted individual. And these sessions are designed to be engaging and practical and relatable. So, alumni, you don't want to miss that. And then Sunday morning, we're going to have the alumni see you later breakfast. And this is where you just grab your coffee or tea, and we will provide the donuts. And it's just a one last chance to connect with your fellow attendees before the final workshop and closing keynote, and then everyone heads home in their own direction. And if you're interested, alumni, giving back during the summit, we're always open to alumni volunteers. You make the experience memorable for everybody, whether that's, supporting team activities. I know I have Mafia there. Does anybody still play Mafia? Or just, helping with various events throughout the weekend. So we will have volunteer opportunities available soon. So again, email us and let us know if you're interested.
Thanks, Nantia. And I think a Mafia game would be really great. I know it was really popular at past summits too to play that game. So if we could bring a revival for Mafia, that would
Yep.
be really amazing. Great volunteer opportunity for an alumni. Thank
Yes.
you. All right. So next for just a weekend highlight, we have our talent show. So talent show signups will open up in April, between April and May. Usually we'll keep them open for about like 4 or 5 weeks. So if there is a talent that your young scholar might want to share with our community, they can start prepping. I believe I think it has to be like under 2.5 minutes. So like just giving a little bit of a preview, like try to keep, I think your performance between less than 2.5. 2 minutes is a pretty safe number. So if you want to give your young scholar the heads up, and if they appreciate that, there you go. Some of the kinds of performances that we've had before, and we have, a stage set up with some lights. We've had dance performers, music. We can provide a piano, but we don't have anything else like amps or like there's microphones. But we don't have ton. There's other like so dance performances. We've had like magic before. That one was pretty fun. Comedy, it could be acting. So just we've had a bunch of different types of um performances and even some out of the box ones. I think we've had like some if you have a programmer, I think there was like an improv, someone who did an improv, like you could I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was really cool like a few years ago. So, biggest thing, under 2 minutes. Try to keep it under 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And if you're not sure, let us know and say, hey, like my kiddo is thinking of doing this. Would that be appropriate? Like, do you guys have the setup for this? And let us know because like we'll let you know too of like, oh yeah, like this could happen. Like we can try to make this happen. So this is taking place on the Friday of the summit. It's usually that evening. So there's not really much else that's competing for it. There is like the teen and alumni trivia for some of the older individuals if they'd like. But yeah, generally the talent show is one of the highlights of the weekend. So any questions, you can always direct them over to us. All right, so we know that for the weekend, um, in it, not our the weekend for our young scholar families and Davidson families, like we want to keep the whole family in mind. So what do we do with the maybe siblings that are not yet in any of our programming or that maybe they're not in any of the programming? So one of the things to keep in mind is that the Davidson Summit does not offer childcare services at the summit. Um, so in the past, Davidson families will like trade off with other parents so they can attend. Sometimes they'll hire out like a local nanny or sitter if they need someone to stay with the kiddo. So, or sometimes they'll create like an attendee plan activity solely for like the non-Davidson sibling that actually happens. And we'll go over what those attendee planned activities are. Now, one of the things that's new this year is non-member siblings ages 5 and up can be checked into the arts and crafts and game room during the workshop time slot. So during the workshops, we've typically had like a game room or art activity, like in the event that maybe the Davidson kiddo did not want to participate in their workshop and the parent wanted to go to the parent session because youth and siblings are not allowed to the parent sessions. So they would sign them into the game room, arts and crafts room. Now we are going to be offering this for siblings. It is on a space available basis. So it's just based if we hit capacity for that space, we hit capacity for that space. Um, Also, in past years, we've had independent of the summit organizations that offered like a sibling workshop for a small fee fire. So we're going to see if like maybe they can come back again and offer. That's not something that we can necessarily control, but we do try to at least, that's a great option for some of our siblings. And so we hope that that'll be an option for this year, but I cannot guarantee that at this time. So if we have any announcements, we'll be sure to share that come this spring. Um, and then to let you know, like what your Davidson sibling can attend, one of the things they can attend, they're separate of like the sign-in arts and games room during workshop periods, there is a general arts and crafts room or game room. A lot of those activities that are that Friday, like they can attend. So they could do bingo, come on the academy tour, exhibit hall, any of the information panels or sessions, the keynote. They can even play in simultaneous chess on Friday. So if the sibling is like, I love chess, they have a chance to play against the grandmaster that we invite each year. They can come to the talent show. Siblings, if they are performing in the talent show, they have to be performing with the Davidson youth. That is, but they can't have their own performance. The mixers, they can come to of course, the welcome social, icebreakers, long games, regional based mixers. Basically, the events that they cannot attend are the alumni only events, the youth workshops, and the parent presentations, is what siblings cannot attend. But we're glad to at least open that up and provide, be a little more inclusive of our siblings for this year. All right, another highlight that I wanted to share with you is attendee planned activities. So, um, if you're interested in organizing a get together with Summit families, this can be great. Or if you want to talk about a particular like topic or just hang out with like-minded peers, reconnect with like a fellow alumni, this can be like a really um, great event. And one of the things that I feel like this is probably the most underutilized actually in our community for the summit. And the reason why is like while we try to provide many different options for our families, one of the things that we have so many kiddos who have just such niche interests, and a lot of times there's others who also have them too, but we can only plan for so much. And so if you're really wanting that connection for your kiddo and they have like a really niche like interest, the attendee plan activities, like this is a time where you're going to get the most people together like all at once and chance to have your kiddo or your family connect with others who also like have the same interests. And so attendee plan activities are really great. It's something where it's not sponsored by Davidson. But we support parents like who are advertising these events like through our Summit platform. We post these in the event section of the 2026 Davidson Summit community, so we'll like advertise them for you. Um, you are essentially in charge of create like figuring out like the space, but we're working on creating some tools for families of like how to like where might be some nice like places to meet, whether it's on campus or some off campus. And here are some ideas right here. Like if of the types of events or even locations, like if your kid's really into Magic the Gathering, like I've never played the game. I've heard a lot of like really fun things about it, but like get a game night together. And you can even use some of the components of, if you're like, oh, we're just meeting right outside the game room at the summit and we're going to be getting together. So we won't be able to help with any of the reservations on campus, but we can, of course, direct you to who to reserve. Um, there's some activities that are happening locally. Such as Food Truck Friday. So food trucks are like your thing. There's like a great park that you guys can meet at. The Reno Rodeo. Rancho San Rafael is like right across the street from campus. We have the planetarium. You can go bowling. There's like a really popular within our community, like the climbing gym, the rock climbing gym at Whitney Peak. So if your kid's into rock climbing or hey, you want to try it out because you're in Reno. Um, and I know rock climbing gyms can exist anywhere else, but this one's pretty cool. It's like right outside, so you're actually seeing like the Reno strip, like you're climbing over it. It's pretty cool. So we have some ideas here, and of course, if there are some questions that you have that you want to gauge, like use the Davidson Summit community to see if any other people might be interested. But they can be really great for finding like those niche interests. All right, some safety on campus. So the biggest thing is like since we are on a university campus, as parents and guardians, please make sure that you're escorting your child around campus everywhere. And I know like don't leave your minors. I know it can be so hard with those 16, 17-year olds. Like they might be navigating college classes on their own. But this is part of UNR's policy for us to be able to have our event on campus. So always have your kiddo with you. The only time that you might not be directly watching your kiddo is when they're signed in. That's why we have a sign-in process when they are signed into their workshops and signed out. But other than that, um, they need to be accompanied by a parent. The University of Nevada is an open campus, so summer sessions are still going on. So it can still be a very busy campus during the summer. The campus is not closed to to students or other organizations that might be hosting their events on campus. The other thing that we ask is that please always make sure that you answer your phone if it's a number that you don't know, and have it available. And the reason why is in the event, like if there might be something happening, like we found your kid, we just need to be able to get a hold of you. So you might be getting a phone call from staff, and so just always answer it at least while you're here and at the summit. just because it might be regarding your child. Okay, so now we're going to go into some of those frequently asked questions. Um, are there any offsite activities at the summit? So we don't host anything offsite, and we're not hosting anything offsite. The only exception to that will be that alumni only social. So if there is anything offsite, that likely is an attendee planned activity. So let us know if you need any help with that. What are some of the dining options nearby? So we are working with the university to finalize whatever options there are directly on campus, because we know that can be really helpful throughout the weekend. But also, there are over 14 restaurants within walking distance to the summit. So, like burgers, pizza, sandwiches. There's quite a few sandwich places. There's a coffee shop, like lots of different eatery options. Typically, in our information book, we will have a map as well as the dining options that are there. So that way you know at least what's close to you. You can also, if you want to stay on campus, like with where you're at during the days and activities, you can always order like Uber Eats, DoorDash, that kind of stuff too. We get a question often about our recommendation for renting a car. Honestly, it's up to you. Some hotels, depending on where you're staying at, are or are not within walking distance. And you just might want to gauge the time you might be walking. So one of the weather patterns that we get here in Reno is it cools down at night, which is really great for like the early morning, but then typically around like 10 o'clock, it starts like getting pretty warm. So if you're pretty sensitive to the heat, you might want to Uber instead of walk, um, or you have your car. Um, and depending on the distance too, just something to keep in mind, we are the campus on the hill. So you probably will be walking a little bit uphill. So just keep that in mind with when you're doing like the Google Maps, like walking to see how far that is. It might depend like if you want to do sightseeing anywhere else. So if you want to go up to Tahoe, it might be worth like um, having a car if you want to go do that. Or if you like to have things in case of an emergency, or if you're not sure, you can always let us know. But there is Uber and Lyft, and of course, taxi services that are in the Reno area. So you have lots of modes of transportation. There is I'm not as familiar with it, but there is also a bus that goes essentially loops around downtown, like up through the university area too. So there are a few options. All right, some tips for success. One of the things that we suggest is prepare to make connections for how you'll stay connected. This could be like business cards, or there are some people who are really handy who can make like a V card and out of a QR code. I've seen it before. It's super cool, way beyond my technical abilities. But be creative. Like there's just a way to exchange contact information can be really great because you're meeting a lot of different people. If this is your first time at the summit, um, one of the things is it can be really helpful to have a conversation with your kiddo because if this is like one of the first times they're around true intellectual peers, like uh, it can be a little unnerving and overwhelming, to make some references and suddenly you have another kid who's like, oh yeah, like they are jumping into it. So sometimes it's just something that like our kiddos are not used to. And it takes a little bit of time to like ease into that. And I know we also have a lot of introverts in our community. And so take that time to recharge too, and sort of have a plan with your kiddo to maybe think of like some strategies, either like to decompress, because it can be a lot, and we want to make this as positive of an experience. And I know FOMO is real, like the fear of missing out, but like you will have a much better, more positive experience if you take care of yourself, take the breaks that you need. Um, just sort of preview some of these things with your kiddo, and maybe even have like a little hand signal, whether it's like touching a part of your arm, like, hey, I need a break, whatever that is, create a little plan about it and can be really helpful. Um, Make a plan to stay connected. So, like, once you get that contact information, what are you doing with it? So, it might be like scheduling a Zoom call or like getting something on the calendar right away. just to be like, all right, like in 2 weeks, like after we've gone back home and tried unpacking, like we'll meet on Zoom or have a phone call or do like an email, send an email. So think of some plans for follow through because that's like what's going to make those connections continue throughout the year. All right, parking. So parking is included in your registration. We will let you know which garage closer to campus, but basically we'll have it set up to where when you're checking in, either where, depending on the day, you might be getting the pass directly from someone who's like at the entrance to the garage, or we'll let you know like where you need to pick up your pass, and you'll be able to, of course, park really quick, go grab your pass. Usually parking services is pretty they're understanding that it'll take a little bit sometimes to get your pass from wherever you're parking and wherever you need to pick it up. For anyone who has ADA questions, like please let us know, and we're happy to help navigate that with you. And then for those of you who are doing the all-inclusive on-campus housing or dining, parking is also included there. All right, your packing list. It's hot and sunny here in Reno. Think 80 to 100-degree weather during the day. It does cool down at night, which is really nice. And it can get pretty cold. And actually, we've had some weird weather. Sometimes it'll be like really cloudy and rainy. So, like, I would say the few days before you come to Reno, check the weather. If you check too far out, things can change. Um, have a joke that at least in Reno, like that's the weatherman position is the one job that like you can be completely wrong and you still have your job because like just the weather changes like so frequently. So basically, though, think it'll likely be hot during the day, cool in the evening. Pack a water bottle, pack sunscreen. The air conditioning, if you're sensitive to that, bring a light jacket or like a cardigan or sweater, like something for the inside because air conditioned buildings sometimes can make things like really cold. It's a dry climate, so lotion and chapstick is a must. On the plus side, your hair and laundry does dry really quickly. You will be doing a lot of walking, so comfortable shoes. Hat, get some nice stylish sunglasses. Just you'll want those things to protect you from the heat and the sun. Um, for social things, we suggest like bring your favorite board game or playing cards. Of course, I know I mentioned those business cards to have handy. If you're planning on playing simultaneous chess, so we bring Grandmaster Ronan Harzi to play simultaneous chess throughout the weekend. So he literally is playing like 30 people at once, like all individual games is how that looks. So if that's something you're interested in, please bring your own chessboard. While we might have a couple extras, we don't really have too many, but like it's just a couple extras. If someone is using it, like you'll have to wait until they're done with their game. So just don't forget chessboard size doesn't matter. Like it could be one of the really small magnetic ones, or it could be one of the bigger rollout ones. But just bring your chessboard if you want to play simultaneous chess. Um, and then don't forget your smile. This is a really special time. It only happens once a year. It's a chance where we get everyone together. So we want you to make the most of this and have like a fun time. Okay, so hotel blocks, we're going to go through so what that looks like. So we do have two courtesy hotel blocks. The codes are all provided in the Davidson member community. Um, So that's like where you go to get the hotel room block information. We don't have it on the public side because it's only for those who are on the who are already coming. They're members. We don't essentially it's just members that we want to be able to access those codes. So the two hotels that we have blocks at are Whitney Peak. That's in downtown Reno. That one, depending on your definition of walkable, it is technically walkable. It is a little bit of a walk, depending on how young your kiddo is. If they're on the younger side, I would say maybe Uber. That would be my suggestion, unless you guys are used to walking a lot. And then Hyatt Place, that is actually just a it's right by the airport, but it's a really popular, it's been a long time popular space. And I think they do have like a lounge area, and that's sort of why it's pretty popular. And it's right by the airport. So that one you would have to Uber or carpool or rent a car, or if you're driving, you would have your car. Um, If you don't want to stay in the hotel blocks, you don't have to. These are just a courtesy. Um, just for to make things like a little bit easier. You know that there's going to be other families who are there, but if you want to do an Airbnb, you prefer having like a whole house or a whole space, like maybe it's one of the houses right across campus, you 100% can do that. That is absolutely no problem. All right, one of the other areas that you can opt to stay in, and that we're bringing back, is our all-inclusive on-campus housing and dining option. So this is staying on campus on the University of Nevada campus in one of the dorms. Check-in begins Thursday afternoon, and then you must check out by Monday morning. Now, if you are checking in a little later or leaving earlier, the price stays the same. It doesn't change, but you can check out or in sooner or later. You will have to let us know like what day, just because that is information we do have to indicate to the housing office if this is the option that you choose. And then the dining, that top left-hand picture, the dining hall is actually like at the bottom floor. Um, the hall features staffed like front desk. The lounges have a television, quiet study areas on each floor. There's laundry facilities. There's internet. The rooms are triples, so up to three beds in a room. Now, how this works, if you're a family of three, you're going to be placed in one room. If you're a family of four or five or more, essentially you'll be placed in multiple rooms. We try to put you guys close to each other. We are not going to be blending. Like if you're a family of two, we're not going to put you, well, that probably wouldn't be a good example, but like if you're a family of two, you'll just be in one room. We're not going to place other people who are not your family in with you. So just with that triple occupancy, you might just end up taking more than one room. And like I said, we try to at least put you right next to each other or right across the hall from each other. So then that way, if you need to help out, divide and conquer with the kiddos, totally get that. There is a bathroom and shower in each room. Each occupant has a single bunkable oak bed, and the mattresses are twin, they're extra long. There's desk, chair, and dresser, wastebasket, closet space, adjustable temperature control, and then you will get a linen packet that includes like your sheets, blankets, pillows, pillowcase, towels, washcloth. We do suggest like it's really bare bones. It's not like a hotel where you're getting all of these amenities. Like bring the things that you like. They do have window coverings, but if you need like blackout, you might like be using some double-sided tape, to like stick something um, on the windows because it's just like the blinds, right? So just keep some of those things in mind. If you're unsure, please like don't hesitate to reach out to us and we'll let you know if there are other suggestions that we have, or even you can connect with other families who might have stayed on campus if there's anything that they might suggest. All right, so registration, because I want to be able to get all your questions all for the session. Registration is open now. So standard registration is from now through April 30th. T-shirts, if you want t-shirts, because it's not included in your registration, you can get it for your kiddo, you can get it for the whole family. T-shirts are also open now. That deadline closes May 8th. If you want to get your phones out, if you're like, I need deadlines, this is a picture that you want to take or a screenshot you might want to take. Late registration is from May 1st through May 29th. So this is a $30 per person additional fee that is charged if you register late. So you'll want to make sure if you want to avoid that, register for the summit sooner. And then registration closes May 29th. Once it's closed, it's closed. And then one thing to keep in mind is that all fees are non-refundable. Our pricing, this all exists on the on davidsongifted.org on our public site, so you can see all of this information, and it has like the cost for like additional parents and guardians and like the siblings, like what that breakdown of fees looks like. So registration is open. Finally, the biggest thing is how, once you're registered, like how do you stay in the know of what's happening in the event something shifts or changes? We try to minimize that as best as we can. But for anyone who's registered, you will get any event updates via email, which includes the youth workshop release. I know there was a question in there of like when that happens. That's towards the end of January, early February is when that is anticipated to be released. So we will notify everyone. We also begin a monthly newsletter starting in April that we call the Summit Scoop. And a lot of that is like, hey, now here's more of the details that have been finalized. Here's like what you need to know. So like make sure you're reading the Summit Scoop. Like once you get those, like you want to, if there's, even if you haven't read them, and you're leaving for Reno, the day prior, for that day, just read through the whole Summit Scoop because you will be glad that you did because that will keep you in the know of all the last minute things that are happening. And of course, any reminders, last minute reminders, like during the event, we communicate that via email. Um, Other ways that you can stay connected is the Davidson member community, the 2026 Summit community. That's where you'll access the direct registration link. That's where you access the hotel courtesy block information, the inclusive on-campus housing and dining information. More details are there. The attendee planned activities. You can start discussions with other members who are attending, like, hey, where are you guys staying at? Like, who else is doing this? You can start those connections before the event happens. All the copies of the Summit Scoop newsletters are there. So let's say you didn't have a chance to register until like May 15th. There may be some things that happened and you just had to register late. You could still see what was sent out in the April Summit Scoop because we'll have all of the versions there. And then we'll have a digital copy of the information booklet. Pro tip, look at that and start selecting like, ooh, we want to go to this before the summit and it will make things so much smoother for you. Okay, so now I'm going to dive into the questions that are in our Q&A. Um, so our first question that we have is, I heard that the retreat was canceled. So yes, last year we had a Davidson family retreat. And so for this year, we are just having the summit. But what we did, because we know that the retreat, there were some really loved pieces of that, we are incorporating that in some of those elements into the summit. One of those areas, if you loved, like if you had attended that, you loved staying on campus in the dorms, we have that option. So yes, like unfortunately it was canceled. Um, this next question um, was we're waiting for the outcome of some financial assistance because if there's any financial assistance that might be needed, we do have a process for that. Just wanted to confirm if delaying registration could limit my young scholars' access to specific workshops. I know they're trying to go through those like as quickly as they can, and so they try not to impede. That's a little harder to tell, but what you can do is you can email us at summit@davidsongifted.org and we can just confirm. So please like reach out to us. But for anyone who's interested too, that, and actually I think might have to message us because right now off the top of my head, I know I'm not as familiar with the not committed to memory, the financial assistance piece. So we want to make sure that we have an answer for you. So please reach out to us. Um, when does the room block become available at Whitney Peak? And when do you suggest booking the hotel? So I believe it should be open. So it it lives in the Davidson member community. And if Janelle or Nantia can go to DMC and if you can share that in the chat to everyone, because if you're a member, you'll be able to access it. If you're not yet a member, you won't be able to access that yet. So if one of my colleagues could send that in, that would be really, really helpful. I appreciate that. Um, but it does live in DMC in the 2026 Summit community. All right. We're planning on going to the DSP, which is Davidson Summer Program, which ends on Thursday. Are both programs in the same place? Just about, yes. So it should be on campus. We're finalizing some of those details of like where our main hub will be for the event, but it's all on campus. If you're participating in the summer program, like right before when you check out, and if you are staying in the dorms, then like check-in will be like basically that same spot. Or if you're planning on going to a hotel, it'll be very close to where summer programs are taking place, like on the university campus, which might be actually pretty fun with like your kiddos, like have them take you around and they can say, oh, over here I did this, over here I did that. Like that's always like really fun to do. All right, this next question. Um, someone had attended the family retreat last year, but not the summit. So the difference in scope of activities or programs merged. So I have my earlier answer, like had to cancel it, but we are bringing some of those elements to the summit. So one of those is like the dorm element. I would say like the summit has like a lot more going on. And the focus is, a bit more on like both events were like celebrating our our families, like their giftedness and their journey. The retreat had a bit more of a family focus, but I'd say like there are some components too of like the summit that help get families together. So I'd say the summit is a little bit more on the social and connection side, like connecting with other people, where like the family retreat was sort of like within the family unit kind of connecting. But we are, like I said, have tried with this shift in programming, essentially bringing some of those elements that were really loved with the retreat into the summit. So I hope that helps, and if not, like you can let us know if you have more questions, and happy to talk through that. There's a question of if there's going to be any activities for non-member siblings under 5. So siblings 0 to 4 can attend, but we won't have any like aside from like what other siblings can attend, with the exception of being signed into the room during workshops. Like, unfortunately, no. The reason, like, for 5, given our program for young scholars has the widest age range of members, can be between the ages of 5 to 18. That is why for non-member siblings, why that 5-year-old designation, because essentially they would be at the same age as our programming offering. So at this time, unfortunately, for those who are 0 to 4 years old, we would not be able to offer. But if that's something you're like trying to figure out a way, something for your 0 to 4-year-olds, maybe it might be hiring a nanny for them to like go and do an exploratory like field trip, like during the parent sessions. Like we can look and see like what resources can we connect you to, so it can be a positive experience too for your 0 to 4-year-olds. They can essentially attend like the other things that other siblings can attend, with the exception of being signed into those rooms. So I hope that answers that question. If your child is 18 years old, do they attend alumni sessions? Yes. So essentially, if they are for young scholars, if they're age of 18 or older, then they are considered alumni. I know it's a little different with like the kiddos who might be graduating from the academy. But if you have any questions for that, you can always reach out to us. But yes, if they are 18 years old, like they would attend the alumni sessions. And Dr. Matt, amazing. He is really great. Okay, so someone else had a question of for the youth workshops. Yeah, so let me point out, actually, they wanted to know more about the age range, and I'm just going to do a visual going back to like the schedule. Okay, so here we have Saturday and Sunday. So you'll see there's a morning workshop for the kiddos, then there's an afternoon workshop. So there's 2 workshops, and then on Saturday, and then 1 workshop on Sunday. So in each of those time slots, we will have a variety and mix and change, like of here are the ones that are available. Like, so if you have like an 8-year-old, so that's like the youth, like the 5 to 8 is youth. You will look at the youth offerings for the Saturday morning, offerings for Saturday afternoon, and then youth offerings for Sunday. So it does like we mix it up. So typically there's a variety of workshops that will be available. And then based on the age of your kiddo, you'll select those workshops. So we have like a singular workshop presenter that will probably have 1 session that's youth, 1 session that is tween, and then another one that's teen. And that the order of that might vary. But you'll see that on the registration. You will essentially just register. If your kid's a youth, you'll do like youth registrations. If they're a teen, you'll likely want to select the teen registration. But hey, like you might have a 12-year-old, they really want like the tween, they can always age down. So I hope that helps. Go back to the questions page. Okay. For on-campus all-inclusive dining, do they have allergy information available? Yes, and they actually have like a pretty cool station. It's like the Thrive Station where they take all of those top allergens. If you look up dining on dining UNR dining, or we might have it. It's actually, it would be on DMC. I'm pretty sure they have that in there because like navigating allergies is actually a pretty common thing like for our population. So, they do, and I would say a lot of our families are really impressed with like how they can accommodate a lot of the different allergies. So they do have that there. I'm pretty sure it's on DMC in the where you can actually get links directly to UNR, like where they talk a little bit more about like the dining offering. So I hope that helps. Um, all right. So Reno's a far trek for us. We can't come every year. We're so glad that you're choosing to come. Is there any particular ages you'd recommend? My daughter just turned 7 and I'm deciding this year or waiting a year or so. I would say honestly, like I don't, that might be a really great question for the discussion forums. Like, and you can, even if you're, un those of you who are like, I'm not sure if I'm going to register, you can actually still join the summit community. Just to be like, well, what's sort of happening? Like, is there anything, like, maybe things might change. You might decide to go. I'd say a lot of the kids with the younger, they really have like a great time. There's a lot of them. I know sometimes it can be a little harder for the older kiddos, like think teens, just because like usually you're competing with other summer camps. So it can be a really great, I'd say like even 7, like they enjoy things, enjoy like the summit really free, like pretty well. So I think that's just based on it might be based on like elements like your kiddo and what they enjoy. And a lot of families have shared like, oh, I found my tribe, like where my kiddo was able to delve into this. And depending on where you're at in your own journey with how you've been navigating giftedness, if you're feeling a lot of the isolation, I'd say like go for it. Um, and I know like for a lot of families that especially when you're like doing some pretty big traveling, it can be really tough. And I think there's a lot said about like our families who they make it, some families will make like this is their vacation because of how valuable it is for them and the community that they've built for them. And so if you feel like you're really in a place where you need that, I would suggest maybe this is the year you do it because there's sometimes when they're a little younger, you're not competing out with like the different camps and that kind of stuff. So that I would say get some insight from other parents that might really help too with your decision. But we hope that we'll see you this year, and if not this year, then in a future year. Um, okay. For Friday, is the keynote mixers event appropriate for tweens to attend? Yep, those are all the keynotes are open and they know that it's going to be for families. So um, we'll do that. And see, I know that I've already went over time, so I'm trying to be like mindful with some of these questions. If I didn't get to your question, please email us because I'm happy to answer some of those pieces. I know someone asked about Dr. Matt's programming on adulting. Like you can actually look at the description on our website of what the session is going to look like. And a lot of our families love Dr. Matt. Um, and someone is like, I'm not sure. This is a pretty common situation too. So we don't know if our other child will qualify as a young scholar for a few more weeks. What are implications for registering for events? Um, and if the kiddo's like not admitted, like how do these kids experience the event? So siblings can attend just about everything that the young scholar can. The only thing that they cannot attend is the alumni events, like exclusive events, the workshops, or the parent sessions. New this year, as long as your kiddo, which it looks like if you're applying, they're probably over the age of 5, they can be signed into the game room, which is like our um, for during the workshop period, like that's in like where the other workshops are happening for youth. So you can sign your kid in there, and we are looking to perhaps have someone come and do some sibling programming for an additional fee. So if you're not signing them in, then they are hanging out with you, which you won't be able to attend like the parent session unless you're tag teaming with like a partner parent. But for the most part, they're able to participate in everything else. Um, and then I know we're already 10 minutes over. So if you have a question, I didn't have a chance to answer it, please go ahead and submit that to us at summit@davidsongifted.org. We want to make sure that we're getting your questions answered. And I also just want to be mindful of our time here. But I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who participated. You'll be directed to a survey after this session. So please let us know how we did. I know I was going through a lot of different information, and we are so looking forward to seeing many of you at our Davidson Summit for 2026 this coming summer. Have a wonderful day, and we will talk and hopefully see you soon. Bye.